it, Shannon Vlogs, 31 Days of Horror. Ooh, stuck. It's stuck. Day 2 with lovely Molly. Lovely, lovely Molly. Hey everyone, it is Shannon and I'm continuing on my 31 Days of Horror exploration with lovely Molly. This is a film that, it's funny, I picked it, it's on Netflix, it's available, and it is by the director of The Blair Witch Project, and I think I honestly picked it because when it came out, I had tickets to a free screening of it and I didn't go. I know that that's a really silly reason for deciding to watch it now, but it is the reason. I felt like I should have gone at the time and I didn't, therefore I'm gonna watch it now. I don't know. And I couldn't, it looked really creepy. I did start watching it a couple of years ago and it felt too creepy to watch. So I thought I'd give it another try and see if I could get through it. Isn't that funny? Good news, I did get through it. So there, woohoo, one check, yay. So very briefly what it's about is it's about a woman named Molly who I think during the film gets married, is recently married, and her husband moved back to her childhood home, which is kind of dilapidated and there's obviously some not great memories there. It's told in a couple of different ways. Like there's some just sort of straight normal, this looks like a movie stuff, and then there's some verite style direct to camera stuff, and then also using the camera and looking through the camera. So it has a couple, the visual style is a bit different. This should be familiar for people who have watched the Blair Witch Project. It's not entirely, you know, through the camera, verite, shaky cam, any of that stuff, but it definitely uses elements of that, talking to the camera, you know, that kind of, so it has that sort of real but unnerving kind of feel. And it, you know, the whole, it's got like, it's pretty creepy. It's got like that whole mysterious past. You don't know what's going on. Why does she not, like, why would she not want to live here? What happened? You know, those kinds of things. And so that really gave it quite an edge that I think really worked well. In terms of, I have some questions that I go through for the 31 Days of Horror, and one of my questions is it horror? And I would say yes, it's definitely horror. It's about, like, you know, it's scary, it's about being unnerving, putting people on edge, not knowing what's going to happen, and I'm sure there's some jump scares in there, but it's not really what I took away from it. But yeah, definitely supernaturally themed, very like edge of your seat at certain times, and creepy galore. Very, and gory. Very bloody, very gory, and pushes some boundaries. Just like Honeymoon, it pushes some of the same boundaries that Honeymoon did. My next question is, was it scary? And yes, I would definitely say it's scary. For me, supernatural movies are definitely ones that push that envelope a little bit more. And it's like, you know, I initially, when I first started watching it, I couldn't watch it. It was too scary. So I think that alone says that it's scary. And even watching it the second time, or making it through the whole way this time, I still thought it was very unnerving and creepy and disturbing. Not only scary, but it was disturbing. Definitely some disturbing images, a lot of disturbing ideas. And yeah, so yeah, oddly to go from scary to did I enjoy it? And it's hard to say that I enjoyed it because that's not how I would describe this movie. It's not an enjoyable watch. Is it a dramatic watch? Is it an intensive watch? Yep, yep, yep. It really is. Was I curious? Did I figure it out? Did I figure it out? I figured out some of it. I'll get to that later with something else. But yeah, I think it really goes pretty far, and I felt it was very unnerving. It was sometimes I would say it's a little uneven, and I don't know if that had to do with sort of the storytelling style, not just the two camera and using the video camera kind of stuff, but there's some other places that it kind of felt like the timeline felt a bit strange. And although I think you can always reason it out, I didn't intuitively or very quickly know exactly what was going on. And sometimes it's good to put you off balance, but you know, not always. So overall, I gave it a 7 out of 10, and I would say actually the quality of the film is an 8 out of 10, but because of the disturbing imagery and some of that kind of stuff, it kind of knocked it down to 7, which may or may not be fair, but that's how I decided to rate it. But yeah, I thought in terms of a pick for the 31 Days of Horror, I thought it was a really good selection, and but I don't want them all to be that intense. And it was cool to see a female protagonist, although in horror it actually we do have a fair amount of female protagonists. It just this one was so disturbing, and especially since there was this family history piece going on, and there was, you know, contemplation about like what was real, and you know, not that, some support but not a lot of support, really isolated place, all that stuff I find very unnerving as well as scary. So yeah, but I if you haven't seen the movie, I would leave it off here. Otherwise, I am going to do a spoiler zone. Normally I don't go into spoilers, but with this movie in particular, I do have to go. I would like to go into spoilers. So if you haven't seen it, you plan on watching it, let's say goodbye for now, because I'm gonna spoil the ending. I am. Countdown, 3, 2, 1. We are now officially in the spoiler zone. One of my challenges with this film is I actually can't tell if it was a supernatural film or not. The big piece of this is this history with her past and her dad and horrible things that happened, but then they have this thing about like whether like is she mentally unstable, or is he supernaturally calling to her, or is some other entity calling to her and making her do these things or attacking her. For me, it actually was not clear whether it's all in her head or he's still alive. Actually, she thinks he's still alive, but I never thought that that was actually the case, you know, or that he's still there. But I felt like that definitely the presence of him or the presence of something was there. That was my feeling about it. And the ending did infer that because they have her sister look into, like, hear a voice and get called in, like, you know, and then follows that voice. So you feel like, you know, it's not just her, also her sister could be drawn in by this. So for me, I found that challenging. So if you've watched the film and you know, and put like spoiler heading like in your comment, so that other people don't accidentally read it, please. But I would love to know how you feel about it. Did you think it was a supernatural film and she was being called to from beyond, or did you think she was just crazy, or had mental instability, or was traumatized by the events of her past and couldn't get over them? Because I wasn't able to tell. And for me, that's also something else that knocked it down from an 8 to a 7, is that I couldn't really tell. Because the ending with her sister in the closet, one, felt very Blair Witchy, which is, you know, fine. It's the same director. But it kind of felt like, okay, let's leave this tiny little scene at the end so we can have a sequel. So for me, I kind of, sometimes I discount those moments because it's really just opening the door to a sequel. So whether or not it's valid is not, like, it doesn't always feel like it's even part of the movie. So anyway, love to hear your thoughts on it. That is my day 2 of 31 Days of Horror, and we'll be back for more. Thanks for watching.